Welcome to the Daily Space Weather, and that, my friends, right there is the place to watch. The northwestern limb. We just saw an M7.7 class flare while we were doing show prep. It happens on the regs here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Where am I? Oh, in space. So yeah, check this out. There's your M7.7 class flare happening. It's so recently that it barely shows up in the SDO browse data imagery. But like we said yesterday, that is the place to watch, the northwestern limb. We still got another day or so where the likelihood of a more M flares or even an X flare is kind of high. Here's a colorized magnetogram, most of the activity in the southern hemisphere. We've got a North Pole current sheet arriving by tomorrow. So there's the intensity gram as sunspot 3098 sets there in the northwest. Again, likelihood of major flares very high. Let's do a volcano rundown here. We've got some new volcanoes on the list. It's a little bit of a volcanic uptick. Gama Lama producing some brown gas emissions. We'll get to it. Sakurajima producing a 7,000-foot ash plume. Suwanosejima, a 6,000-foot ash plume. Flight level 060. Gama Lama with elevated seismic measurements there. That's on the Indonesian Isle of Halmahera. So white to brown gas emissions happening there again at Gama Lama. There you go. There's the imagery of that. So that's a new one never covered before on the channel. Luatolo exploding in the Lesser Sunda Islands. Flight level 120, 12,000-foot ash plume. Takono exploding, 7,000-foot ash plume. A new island has formed in the Tonga Reef area, the home reef of the Tonga Islands. A new volcanic island has formed. Some new real estate there, perhaps lowering real estate prices in your area if you live in Oceania. So a new island forming there. Some gas emissions to 1 kilometer above the sea there from that seamount. Popocatépetl exploding, flight level 200 over central Mexico. It's a 20,000-foot ash plume. Heading down to South America there, we see Nevado del Ruiz exploding. 20,000-foot ash plume over Colombia from Nevado del Ruiz. Flight level 200. Flight level 200 over Sangay in Ecuador. Flight level 150 over Revenador as that also explodes. Sabancaya exploding in Peru. 23,000-foot ash plume. And Ertaale in Ethiopia. Some Hawaiian-style phenomenon there with a steep-sided fragile spatter cone with the continuous glowing lava lake in the southern pit crater. So it's a volcanic uptick going on at the moment. Let's check seismicity. Seismicity has calmed down here since the past couple of days. No major quakes and kind of a low number of quakes here over the past 24 hours. Largest quake happening in the past 24 hours was only a 5.1 magnitude, I believe. There was a 5.0 at Mistang, India. Looks like it's north of the Himalayas there. That 5.0. I think that might be the largest quake. Nope. The state of Yap. So shut your yap and check out this earthquake at Micronesia. So there you go. That's the largest quake of the past 24 hours. Only a 5.1 magnitude, and not many quakes happening either. Let's get back to space. We've had some CMEs happening in the past 24 hours. We'll talk a little more in depth about those. They do not appear to be Earth-directed. Don't be surprised to see more. There are still lots of filaments in the southern hemisphere of the sun. The radial flux has come down to 140 solar flux units. And there's the one-year graph of that. The black line represents the radial flux. The red line represents the sunspot number. And you may notice the extreme direct correlation there between sunspot number and the radial flux. You can see right here is a peak, there's a peak, there's a peak, there's a peak. Sunspot number and radio flux are directly proportional. So Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard here forecasting some geomagnetic unrest today and tomorrow from a coronal hole high-speed stream. So we'll be waiting for another high-density wave here. We'll expect a high-density wave, which will then level off, and then a high-speed stream after that, after the high-density wave is passed. We'll be keeping an eye on it. And when I say eye on, well, pardon the pun. So here's the earthly geospace for the past 4 hours. It's our Geospace Magnetosphere movie. And things are quite calm here at the moment. We have an average solar wind density and a slow solar wind speed. Pressure actually dropping off there according to the Space Weather Modeling Framework in the past couple of hours. And then a little increase again. We'll cover the reasons for that in a moment. First, ground magnetic perturbations. Geospace Delta B, its changes to Earth's B field. Things pretty calm, geomagnetically speaking. And that ground magnetic perturbations map also the last 4 hours. We showed you Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's the KP index, the global measurement of geomagnetism. KP index, K index of 1, KP1 is the current situation. And there's the solar wind. It's pretty uneventful here over the past 24 hours. Current conditions are 346 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density 9.1 protons per cubic centimeter. Here's your magnetic data. We've had pretty tight range there for the past 24 hours from the GOES magnetometers. The GOES 16 and GOES 17s. The GOES 16 and GOES 17 are geosynchronous satellites located at a near equatorial orbit. The N's and M's stand for noon and midnight local time for the satellites. North Pole heliospheric current sheet headed this way. It'll be here by tomorrow. And you can see that green area showing up here as some magnetic field shifts happen on the closest star, polarizing the plasma. North Pole current sheet to be here by tomorrow. Here's a line of sight field plot. We've got some wraparound North Pole coronal holes. And let's move to the coronal hole section of the video. So here you can see some coronal holes in the southern hemisphere. Those green coronal holes there, this one here is North Pole oriented. A little bit of indecision about the polarity happening there. And the coronal hole high-speed stream that we're expecting is from these South Pole oriented coronal holes located in the northern hemisphere. So there's a good view of those. In 211 angstroms, that's the last 24 hours from SDO. And let's move to sunspots. Likelihood of solar flares very high. Again, we just saw an M7.7. And sunspot 3103 got a name yesterday. Things pretty stable here as far as sunspots over the past 24 hours. Again, the likelihood of even an X-class flare is certainly there as sunspot 3098 sets in the northwestern limb. So here's your SDO continuum for the past 24 hours. Here is the southern hemisphere. And here is sunspot 3098. New sunspot behind it there also. That group is going to need a name as well. And here's some composite imagery of that area. That's 171 plus 193 angstroms. How you like them apples? That's some spectacular imagery for you. Coronal hole rotating in there too, just fantastic. So there's that M7.7 class flare, 7.9 actually. Peak flux was at 9:40 Universal Time, just before we started recording this program. We'll be keeping an eye on the proton flux to see if there has been an uptick here in the proton flux over the past 24 hours, since about 1600 Universal Time yesterday. So some relativistic particles there showing up. That may be enough to cause some polar radio blackouts. Let's have a look. If you want to follow it yourself, use the deabsorption region predictions or DRAP, as those protons have the ability to modulate the ionosphere, especially at the polar regions. The flares are modulating the ionosphere at the equatorial regions, as you can see there. We will have seen a significant radio blackout from that recent flare. Give that a minute to there you go. Major radio blackout there over Africa. That's your M-class flare happening there. And of course you can see this ongoing radio blackout situation in the polar regions as that proton flux ramps up. We may see it ramp up even higher here as a result of that, as a result of associated particles associated with that 7.9 class solar flare. Wait for it. And there's the solar flare's effects as the D region of the ionosphere is modulated. So this is the last 24 in 131 angstroms. Let's show that again. Again, folks, don't be surprised to see additional large flares from the northwestern limb. Sunspot 3098 may not be done. Of course, it may go all the way around the sun and come back again, so we'll be watching for that. So here's a star chart. Venus just rose over the horizon here at Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. We've also got the moon and Mars high up in the sky on the ecliptic. Jupiter in a setting mode down there in the western sky. This is from in-the-sky.org if you want to create your own star chart. Deneb setting in the northwest. The intrinsically brightest object. In other words, it's not the brightest object. Of course, that's the sun. But Deneb is the brightest object, intrinsically speaking, visible from our solar system. Speaking of which, here's the 1 week forecast for the solar system. Keep in mind this imagery is not to scale. Venus a little bit lonely there, as all 8 other planets are on this side of the sun. Here's the 1 week forecast. We'll be approaching a new moon. We will have a crescent waning in 1 week. We've got some activity here on the coronagraphs. That's yesterday's coronagraph imagery. Some CMEs happening there. Are they earthly directed? Well, the answer is no. They're off to the west. Here's today's activity so far. And that one looks like it's off to the west and south as well. I don't think there is an earth-directed component to that. A little higher speed CME happening there. And we're going to show stereo A even though it's ancient data. Here's a Soho Lasco C2. There's that CME yesterday. That kicked off at about 9 o'clock Universal Time. And then there's this other one happening just after midnight this morning. So here's the last 24. We've zoomed out, showing the SDO, the Soho Lasco C2 and the Soho Lasco C3. Again, I don't think there is an Earth-directed component on any of those. Here we've zoomed out even farther. Yes, And let's pause for station identification. This is the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Thanks for leaving a comment. One audio as we bring you the most detailed imagery of the closest star and the most comprehensive coverage of space weather you'll find anywhere in the world. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Now, once again, we've got lots of filaments here, so this is the likelihood of additional coronal mass ejections is very high. Huge filaments up here around the north. Filaments, filaments, filaments. Prominence down here in the southeast. Filaments in the southern hemisphere. And some filaments remain affixed just behind sunspot 3098. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. That's an ongoing situation. And the GO 16 SUVI should show that M-class flare. There's some great imagery. That's to last about 2.5 hours. And there's that M7.9 class solar flare. And I would reiterate, I say this regularly on the channel, don't get solar flares and coronal mass ejections mixed up. They're completely separate phenomena. They are different things. Solar flares are photons of the X-ray frequency. Photons, that's a solar flare. They take 8 minutes to arrive at the Earth. Solar flares are essentially light X-ray photons. Coronal mass ejections are gas, primarily consisting of protons, hydrogen nuclei. There's also some helium nuclei, and then there's also some electrons and some other heavy elements mixed into the solar wind. Coronal mass ejections have the same general chemical makeup. They are gas. Solar flares are light. Take a moment to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Congratulations on realizing it exists despite the pathetic censorship on the platform. Not exactly sure why. I guess facts have been largely suppressed since about 2019. Check out our other playlists as well, like the cosmology segment, smashomash.org presents the sun. What about the Diamond Anvil, Too Hard to Smash? We've even got a Terms Defined playlist. If you've never seen that one, check it out. Various terms defined here, including legal jargon about the Second Amendment, the definition of the word propaganda, Eugene and I talking about condensed matter, geomagnetic jerks, accountability in 2021, terms define the grand solar minimum, cosmic rays, and the galactic current sheet. If you'd like to support the channel via a subscription membership, we would appreciate your assistance. If you'd like to become a producer of the content, join at the gold or silver Smash Team level. Smashomash.com/SmashTeam is the site where you log in. And if you want to see our latest posts at your subscription level, just click Posts. There are some posts that everybody can see. There's even a bronze level for those unwilling or unable to open up their cobweb-encrusted wallet and send us a couple bucks. Thanks to our new followers over on Twitch. We stream regularly over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Smashomash. If you haven't seen the merch shop, check the links below the video or on the homepage at smashomash.com. Our merch here is sorted in order of best selling. And we've got various different missions here. These may or may not reflect the views of the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. In any case, today's featured product is Mensa, because, well, our goal is to make Earth not suck again. So we've got products to indicate that, and one of the things about Earth sucking has been censorship over the past, certainly the past 6 years at least. Pathetic censorship. And I would remind all of you out there viewing the videos, do you work for big tech? I would remind you that you can't break the internet. However, the internet can break you. So censorship is dead. And this is why I've been calling certain organizations zombie companies for the past, 3 years. Zombie corporations moving forward only on inertia, with zero innovation and software that's 20 years outdated. So we implore you to act local, think global, and Mensa. Make Earth not suck again. Of course, also, we've got some products called Make America Not Suck Again, Mensa. And I would remind our viewers that I have absolutely zero affiliation with any political parties, including the Libertarian Party, the Socialist Party, the Democrat Party, the Republican Party. Never been affiliated with a political party, likely never will, because I'm a pragmatist. I focus on what works. You can find links to our Twitter page on the homepage also. If you don't have a Twitter account, go create one and follow us over there. You'll see some stuff you don't see anyplace else. Also on our homepage, you can find a link to SureMed. It's a fantastic nonprofit organization known as the American Better Health Organization, focused on the improvement of its members' health. There are some insurance products that you'd only be eligible for if you get a SureMed membership that you can add to your SureMed membership, like accident insurance, hospital indemnity plans that pay you cash for various different events, dental insurance. But if you just have a base membership, you get all of these features right here, including doctors by phone, counselors by phone, virtual veterinarians, vision discounts, retail and mail order pharmacy, discounts on vitamins, labs, diabetic supplies, MRI and CT scans, hearing aids, durable medical equipment. So check it out. Links below the video and on the homepage to SureMed. Drop me a line if you've got any questions. Again, the homepage is smashomash.com, and welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. I believe we've plausibly explained the mechanism underlying the solar sunspot and solar polar field reversal cycles. We'll be releasing a paper for that on peer review, and our Gold Smash Team members have already been informed of this. We decided to tell our Gold Smash Team members about it before even completing the paper. Don't worry, folks, when we submit the paper for peer review, by that point, we'll be able to create a video and tell you all about it. A plausible mechanism underlying the sunspot cycles and solar polar field reversal cycles. And let's get into our bonus features segment, starting with satellite charging hazards. And the coast looking clear here for satellites as we see the electron storm waning. There's the relativistic electrons for the past 3 days, the GOES 16 and GOES 17's radiological measurements, using radiography from their geosynchronous orbits to measure the electron flux at the F-flare of the ionosphere. There's the forecast model from NOAA. We're expecting a precipitous dip here. Also that coronal hole high-speed stream. Those typically go together, low electron flux and coronal hole streams. There's the 1-year chart of the relativistic electrons from Solon.info. To put that all in context, we're just in a nominal range now. And let's take a look at the F ionosphere layer, the vibrational frequency at about 300 kilometers of altitude. We're still seeing quite a lot of anomalies happening, mainly of the high-frequency variety in the F ionosphere layer. If you're not used to looking at that, don't worry. We'll also show the anomalygram. So there's the anomalygram showing anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. And you can see some significant high-frequency anomalies shown in blue, low-frequency anomalies shown in red. It's anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. So there's the latest image. That's 10:30 Universal Time. Ionogram, 10:30 Universal Time. Anomalygram. And we'll also show the total electron content forecast. Unfortunately, the full planet view of total electron content here has been broken for days. So we're only going to show the North American view. So here's the raw information. In many ways, I actually like this better. There's the standard deviation. And there's the anomaly. So that's the anomaly from 10-day average. And that is the electrons all the way up from the inner Van Allen belt, actually the inner portion of the outer Van Allen belt, all the way down to your GPS handset. It's from about 12,500 miles of altitude to surface, the total free electrons. And here's the closest star, the latest high-res imagery there. There's sunspot 3098. And let's bring up one more series of images here. This is, we're going to do 304, 211, and 171 angstroms. That is yesterday plus today. Don't worry, folks. The speed of the sun's not the rotation of the sun is not speeding up there. That's just some missing data from SDO. And it's time to move to the realm of meteorology. By the way, today's hairdo was brought to you by Grackles. Yes, Grackles did my hairdo today. Here's one more series of images from SDO. That's the last 24 hours in 171 plus 93 angstroms. So we're going to start the meteorology segment with Saharan dust, which may be not helping people's forecasts for a tropical system starting up here over the eastern Caribbean. So there is a tropical system possibly developing right around here where my pointer is, and that Saharan dust is not going to help things out. Take a look at that in a little greater detail here a little bit later in the video. I just figured I would bring that up as there is quite a bit of Saharan dust in that area. We'll have to see what happens. We'll show you some forecasts momentarily. First, the jet streams, rather, of the eastern world. Here are the surface winds. We've got some tropical storm warnings there around Alaska, the Bering Sea there. Seeing some high seas, to say the least. Also another major low there south of Japan. Here are the surface winds of the west. Here are the jet streams. Jet streams of the central world blowing backward over the Indian Ocean, the northern portion at least. And here are the surface winds. Here's your weather.gov map. If your county's lit, click your county at weather.gov. Some frost advisories there in northwestern Maine. And some, I think, air quality alerts in the northwestern U.S. Not a lot of weather alerts at the moment. And let's move to some forecasts here. So first we're going to do the pressure and precipitation forecast over the lower 48. That data was not available when we did show prep, so we're going to bring it up now. So that's the GFS 72-hour forecast for pressure and precipitation. Some heavy rains that are expected in about 3 days for Northern California. Let's take a look at the GFS model here for the Western Pacific. That is, by the way, that's waves. That's wind, waves, and swells. So that system is going to calm down in the next 3 days, but some serious weather there in the Bering Sea. If you're out there crabbing, it could be a good day to not be out there crabbing. The next 2 days, things finally calming down after that's a 78-hour GFS wave height and wind forecast. And this low expected to crash into southern Japan as well. Next, we're going to look at the this tropical system here, the GFS model for this. That's pressure and wind. And it looks like it's just going to kind of fizzle there. So it looks like, once again, a lot of alarmist nonsense about the propagation of this system. That's the 72-hour GFS forecast for wind and pressure. So here's your current pressure map, and check it out, 947 hectopascals for that system in the Bering Sea. That is a pretty significant system. Here's how we're expecting it to move based on the European forecast. Moving right toward the Bering Strait there. And then starting to lose some power there as it crosses the Bering Strait. A little bit less water available for convection at that point. And let's continue on. Here is your lightning mapper, the last about 10 hours of lightning. And let's switch to a real-time lightning map. We don't want the video to be too long. This is from lightningmaps.org. Let's see if we have any terrestrial strikes in the U.S. A minor thunder shower there northwest of Wichita. Looks like it's calming down. And we just saw some strikes in Nevada and in Utah. There's an active cell there. West of the Wawa Mountains. Sweet. Here's your U.S. Doppler radar map. As we see moisture making its way back into Alaska, we're going to focus on the lower 48 for the remainder of the video. There is the U.S. Doppler radar for the lower 48. Here is shortwave radiation showing clouds and fog. And here is the water vapor map. Clear skies over most of the southern U.S., it looks like, as this is a huge high-pressure zone. That's all high pressure, that whole area. Dry, massive air dominating the southern portion of the U.S. Here's your recap. U.S. Doppler radar map. .9 nanometer radiation satellite. And the water vapor. Also down here, I would note that there's a bunch of dry air right here, and that does not help to increase the intensity of tropical systems either. So that's what's going on. Them be the facts. Thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off, and may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in this video, not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News.